The fourth season of Only Murders in the Building blasts our favorite true crime podcasters out of the cozy walls of the Arconia and straight into a labyrinth of Hollywood egos, long-buried grudges,
and a murder that cuts terrifyingly close to home.
What begins as a champagne-soaked celebration of their latest solved mystery spirals into their most dangerous investigation yet, the shocking assassination of Charles's stunt double and best friend, Sazz Pataki. Here's the full, twist-filled breakdown of everything that went down. A celebration turns deadly. The season opens on what should have been a perfect night. Charles, Oliver, and Mabel pop up in bubbly in Charles's apartment,
relieved to have survived yet another tangled web of lies and murder.
But the celebration carries a shadow. In the Season 3 finale, Sazz Pataki, Charles's snarky scene-stealing stunt double, was gunned down by a sniper. Except now, she's missing. Her body, her blood, her presence, gone. The next morning, Charles's phone buzzes. A casual text from Sazz claims she's in Los Angeles doubling for Scott Bakula. Relief washes over him, if only for a moment. Something doesn't add up. Before Charles can dwell, Paramount Pictures executive Bev Mellon swoops in with an irresistible offer to adapt the trio's hit podcast into a Hollywood film. Oliver practically faints with joy, Charles is wary, and Mabel, as always, stays grounded, suspicious of Tinseltown promises. Hollywood glamour and lies. L.A. greets the team with glitz and glitter. At a Paramount party, they meet the actors cast to play them. Eugene Levy as a neurotic Charles, Zach Galifianakis as a flamboyant Oliver, and Ava Longoria as a glam powerhouse Mabel. Ava leans into Mabel with life advice. Take the payout, break free, and step into her own story. It's a seed that will quietly grow all season. But Hollywood sparkle quickly dims. Charles runs into Bakula himself, who insists Sazz never showed up. Alarm bells scream. Breaking into Sazz's apartment, the trio finds her cryptic notes, all about Charles. Back in New York, the evidence turns grim. Blood smears, a bullet hole in Charles's window, prosthetic limbs scorched in the Arconia incinerator. The truth hits hard. Sazz was murdered in Charles's place, and the killer isn't done. Whoever is texting from her phone wants them rattled, afraid, and out of the game. New neighbors, old fears. Suspicion leads them to the Arconia's mysterious West Tower. Inside its eccentric roster of tenants, they meet Vince Fish, an eye-patch-wearing oddball, and the warm but guarded Hispanic family of Alfonso, Inez, and Anna, who introduce Oliver and Mabel to the cutthroat card game, Oh Hell. But one name keeps surfacing: Professor Milton Dudenoff, the phantom tenant of a perpetually locked apartment. Mabel cracks a code hidden in Sazz's notes, and they break in. Inside, a surreal scene: a pig lounging in a bathtub and a ham radio humming with eerie frequencies. The apartment feels less like a home, more like a secret bunker. Meanwhile, Charles gets a visitor. His toxic ex, Jan, escaped from prison, shows up uninvited. She claims Sazz had been digging into something inside the Arconia that directly threatened Charles. Before cops arrive, Jan vanishes like smoke. The trio presses on, using luminol to illuminate the crime scene. There, scrawled in Sazz's blood, is a final message: tap in. Another clue hides in numbers that Oliver deciphers into Oh Hell.
FBI fakes and false leads.
The FBI swoops in, officially taking over, but Detective Williams secretly keeps the trio in play, feeding them intel about the sniper's weapon and crime scene inconsistencies. Their Hollywood counterparts shadow them for character research. Zach dismisses Oliver as a vain burnout
until Howard paints him as a scrappy survivor.
Ava teams up with Mabel to investigate Rudy Thurber, the Arconia's over-the-top Christmas decorator. But Rudy's tinsel turns out to be materials for bodybuilding videos. Then a bombshell. Charles and Eugene discover a photo from Vince's collection. Neighbors gathered together, one face ominously crossed out. The crossed-out man
holding a pig.
Determined, Mabel claims squatter's rights.
In Dudenoff's apartment to lure him back, the ham radio crackles with a chilling warning: stop the investigation. Last act for Sazz's funeral. The trio chases Sazz's trail to a dingy stunt performer bar. There, they meet Glenn Stubbins, Ben Glenroy's stunt double from Season 3, and Dr. Maggie, a chiropractor who reveals Sazz had been quietly planning retirement. Mabel uncovers the truth about the West Tower. It's an illegal housing scheme, dirt cheap sublets funneled through Dudenoff. The ham radio's sinister messages, just Rudy's paranoid ex, Helga, spiraling. None of the tenants even knew Sazz personally. Charles, gutted with grief, stages a bizarrely moving tribute. He dresses as Sazz, performing her stunt double funeral himself. A nod to her lifelong dream of running a stunt training camp. But even in mourning, danger stalks them. At the campsite, Bev arrives, gun drawn. Double trouble. Bev insists she's innocent. Sazz had left her a panicked voicemail before she died. The trio pivots back to Hollywood and zeroes in on Marshall P. Pope, the flamboyant screenwriter. But Marshall is a fraud, his persona fabricated. He has an alibi, but raises questions about whether the crime could have been executed in just 12 minutes. Oliver tries, and fails, to reenact the crime within that time frame, but Mabel uncovers something sharper. A footprint in photos of the film crew matches the shoe print from Dudenoff's apartment. The culprit, directors Tawny and Trina Brothers. Ava sets a trap during a photo shoot using tacky mats to confirm the match. But just as the trio prepares to accuse the sinister sisters, the lights cut out. A gunshot shatters the room. Zach and Glenn collapse, bleeding, rush to the hospital. The real killer is still out there. Ghosts, cameras, and confessions. Williams confirms Dudenoff never lived in Portugal. He was the brothers' film professor and now, apparently, dead. Even worse, hidden in Sazz's ashes box is a prosthetic shoulder joint belonging not to her, but to Dudenoff. The brothers admit they snuck into his apartment, planting cameras. They're horrified to realize they unknowingly left his remains mixed with Sazz's. Then the trio receives a horrifying text sent from Sazz's number, along with surveillance footage of themselves inside the Arconia. They're being watched. The episode pivots into a found footage style, piecing the case together through the brothers' hidden cameras. Every corner of the Arconia now feels hostile, unsafe. Family drama. Seeking refuge, the podcasters flee to Charles's sister Doreen's Long Island home, but peace doesn't last. Bev and the actors follow them, and chaos erupts when Loretta shows up, fists flying at Doreen over Oliver. Eventually, reconciliation wins out.
Charles and Doreen repair their sibling bond,
and Loretta proposes to Oliver, who finally says yes. Meanwhile, the actors cook up their own theory. The killer is linked to the anonymous threatening letters from Season 1. Sazz's notes lend weight to their hunch. At the same time, Howard uncovers financial fraud. The West Tower tenants have been illegally cashing Social Security checks under Dudenoff's name. Dudenoff's secret, and a killer protégé. Dudenoff, terminally ill, ended his own life, begging neighbors to hide it so they wouldn't lose their cheap housing. It explains some mysteries, but not Sazz's murder. Helga drops a bombshell. Sazz had confided in her about a former protégé who turned dangerous. All signs point to Glenn, but before they can confront him, he's murdered in his hospital bed.
The trail leads to Rex Bailey,
Sazz's original protégé, replaced by Glenn on Project Roncoma. Oliver's old friend and ace filmmaker Ron Howard himself confirms it with a photo. At the same time, Mabel discovers Sazz had hidden a crucial artifact in a beer box, the original script for Only Murders in the Building the movie, her name listed as the sole writer. The theft of that script was the killer motive. Marshall P. Pope, the eccentric screenwriter, he's Rex Bailey in disguise. The final showdown. the trio stages a high-stakes reenactment of Rex's method, navigating the Arconia's inner ledge to commit murder in just 12 minutes. With Vince and Rudy's help, Charles and Oliver push through the fear to reach Mabel, kidnapped and cornered by Rex himself. Rex unravels, confessing. Consumed by jealousy, he stole Sazz's script and sold it under his alias. When she threatened to expose him, he weaponized her own investigative notes, positioning himself as both hunter and executioner. He prepares for a final kill, but justice fires from an unexpected savior. Jan, perched in Charles's apartment, takes the shot. Rex falls.
Jen is rearrested.
But Sazz's murder is finally avenged.
Wedding bells and one last body. The season closes on joy. Oliver and Loretta marry in a warm, heartfelt ceremony, with Charles and Mabel by their side. For a fleeting moment, peace seems possible, but the Arconia never sleeps. A mysterious woman, Sophia Casimio, approaches Charles and Mabel with the new case, her missing husbands, tied somehow to the building. They decline, desperate for rest. Then, tragedy strikes. Lester, the Arconia's beloved doormat, is found dead in the fountain. The curtain falls not with resolution, but with the promise of another murder, another mystery, another season of danger and dark comedy in the world's most cursed luxury apartment building.
If you enjoyed this recap, subscribe to First Curiosity for more TV breakdowns.